Hi everyone, how are you? Welcome back to the channel. For those who don't know me, my name is Bruno Villas, and today I'm going to tell you another story. If you're just arriving here now and you're not yet subscribed to the channel, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss notifications. Every time I publish a new video, YouTube will let you know and you can run here to watch them with me. Now without further ado, let's move on to today's case. Clubs, nightclubs, and bars were created with the intention of entertainment, fun, and relaxation. When we go to places like this, the expectation is of a happy and fun night with friends. But unfortunately, in some cases, like the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, United States, at Kiss in Santa Maria, Brazil, and in Reina in Istanbul, Turkey, the reality was a night of terror, despair, and pain. In the early hours of June 12, 2016, the public that went to the Pulse nightclub aimed at the LGBT community would never have imagined that the pleasant North American summer night would turn into a tragic milestone of hatred that night. The nightclub, located in Orlando in the state of Florida in the United States, was in full operation when Omar, who had sworn allegiance to the terrorist group Islamic State of Iraq in the uprising, decided to open fire. Omar was born in New York on November 1986. He lived about 100 miles from Orlando. He attended Martin County High School for at least a year and reportedly also attended Indian River State College between 2006 and 2007. According to the Florida Department of Legal Records, he had no criminal record in the state. Omar lived in Fort Pierce, Florida, but received his mail at his parents' house in the nearby town of Port St. Louis. He worked for G4S, a multinational security company based in London. The branch in which Omar operated was in the city of Jupiter, also in the state of Florida. He was part of the company's staff since 2007. He had an active firearms license and a security guard license. All of this was necessary for the development of Omar's work. He married to a woman from Uzbekistan in April 2009, but they divorced in July 2011. After what happened at the club, Omar's ex-wife told the media that during their marriage he was mentally unstable and that he attacked her. He was reportedly remarried and had a 3-year-old son. Omar became a person of interest to the FBI in 2013 and 2014. The 2013 probe was opened after he made inflammatory comments to co-workers, and the investigation was opened in 2014 after Omar was linked to an American radical who became a suicide bomber in Syria. He was interviewed 3 times as part of the investigations that were closed after nothing justified further investigation. On the day of the attack, Omar parked his car, a Dodge Caravan, in the nightclub's parking lot and entered the club, armed with impressive weapons. He carried a semi-automatic rifle in addition to a semi-automatic pistol, accompanied by several cartridges of ammunition. At around 2 a.m. that morning, the attack began. With massive shooting, Omar began a massacre inside the dance floor, shooting wildly at several random patrons. He was aware of the segmentation of the club, and in fact, this may have been one of the reasons for choosing the location to carry out his massacre. The attack resulted in 103 victims, 50 of which were fatal, with 40 dying on the spot, and another 53 being hospitalized in serious condition in the following hours. Some people who were at the club even sent messages to relatives and friends, letting them know what was happening and saying goodbye, already certain of their end. As was the case with Eddie Justice. The young man hid in the bathroom and took advantage of the last few minutes he had to say goodbye to his mother. In the messages exchanged with her, he said he was in the bathroom of the nightclub and that the shooter was approaching. "They are shooting. He's coming. I'm going to die." Eddie also made a declaration of love to her. "Mommy, I love you." A few minutes after the shooting started, the nightclub itself instructed those present to disperse as quickly as possible after identifying the attack. They used social media to alert people with the following message: "Everyone get out of Pulse and keep running." Even so, the shooter still managed to carry out the massacre and, when surrounded by the police, held hostages for hours, with the SWAT being called to negotiate the hostages' release. At around 5 a.m., the squad decided to invade the establishment. It was at that moment that an exchange of fire took place between the police and the shooter, who was killed in the exchange of fire, but not before managing to hit an officer in the head. Omar's death was confirmed 53 minutes after the invasion, after authorities searched for bombs or accomplices. The dead were between 17 and 50 years old and had no relationship with Omar, who left no explanation for the attack. Omar's father reported that his son was expressing hatred towards gays. According to the shooter's father, Omar saw two men kissing in Miami a few months ago and became very angry, expressing indignation that his children would see that scene. His father also said that the religious issue had nothing to do with it, and that both he and his wife were shocked by what happened, as was the entire United States, and apologized for his son's attitude. Shortly after the attacks, the nightclub transformed the structure into a memorial and decided to close its activities, creating the One Pulse Foundation to provide financial and psychological support for the victims and survivors. In the days following the attacks, the local community mobilized to donate blood for the victims of the attack. The attack was the most serious against LGBT community in the country's history. The incident has been characterized by many sources as the deadliest mass shooting in United States history. This title would be surpassed on October 1st, 2017 by the Las Vegas Strip massacre. Facebook activated its security check feature after the attack, allowing users to mark themselves as safe to notify family and friends. The White House released a statement sending its condolences to the victims. President Barack Obama ordered the federal government to provide all necessary assistance to continue the investigation and support the community. Obama also called the attack an act of terror and hate. On the other hand, the attack was celebrated by a group of far-right Christians in the United States. Pastors spoke about the massacre and said that the strategy was a divine work to eliminate sinners and that God sent a shooter to take their lives. Pastor Roger Gimenez from the Baptist Church of the Truth of Sacrament received applause from his faithful after saying that he thought the attack that killed those people was great. He said quite dismissively that those lives didn't matter to anyone. He said, "So are you sad for the 50 sodomites who were killed today?" "No, I think it's great. I think this helps society. I think Orlando and Florida are a little safer tonight," said the pastor. The West Bureau Baptist Church blamed the victims for the attack and said on social media that God sent the shooter to kill them. Evangelist David Myers suggested that the attack was part of a strategy to promote gun control in the United States and deprotect Christians. He said that the devil would be willing to sacrifice some of his disciples, he was referring to homosexual, to reach the great evangelists of the church. He said this live on his show. David claims that the massacre was a plan to disarm conservative Christians, so that when they could no longer buy weapons, they would be forced to bow to Islam. In Brazil, the statements from the Christian far-right were not much different. Pastor Marcos Feliciano did not miss the opportunity to remain silent and commented on his Twitter that the attempt by LGBT groups to use the tragedy in Orlando to promote themselves at the time of the events was sad. Other Christian leaders strongly disagreed with the statements of their fellow Christians. They made statements lamenting the deaths and saying that God would not be happy with the execution of several people in that way, much less that he would be the cause of that tragedy. They went further and said that God rejoices when a sinner repents of his sins and that no one is the judge but God himself. Leaders of several different religions, such as Candomblé, Spiritism, and Buddhism, expressed deep regret and gave their condolences to the families. I cited some religious statements in this case because at the time the events were very popular in the media and generated a lot of controversy. Because of this, I found it necessary to remind you of these facts. I don't want you to think at any point that I am here making religious distinctions. My principle is respect and will always respect people regardless of politics, religion, race, color, gender, or sexual preference. You know my commitment to respecting the case discussed here and also to neutrality in controversial cases. I think we all have different opinions on different subjects, and that is natural, and even if my colleague's opinion is different from mine or yours, it deserves respect, and that's why I ask you to respect each other here in the comments, okay? Thank you very much for watching this far. If it's not too much to ask, leave your like, which motivates me a lot to continue bringing this type of content here for you. If you've come this far in doubt whether or not to subscribe to the channel, now is the time. Put your finger on the subscribe button and let's get closer. It will be an honor to have you here. Guys, I'll stay here and see you in the next video.